All right. Welcome everyone. I want to start. I'm going to start by doing some introductions of our board. As I call on them, just because they're, I'm going to call on them as I see them on my screen. Board, if you can just unmute yourselves and tell us just a little bit about your position and how long you've been doing PTA, just so everyone else in the room, if they don't know you, can get a chance. So I'll start with Heather because she's right next to me. Oh, I guess I should do myself first, huh? Just in case, if you don't know who I am, my name is Erin Hester. I am 34th District PTA President. And I've been doing PTA for, I don't know, 14, 15 years. I lost track, but it's been a while. So Heather, go ahead. Sorry.
Awesome. That's okay. I'm Heather Ippolito. Hi, everybody. I am the 34th District Parliamentarian. So excited to be here tonight. I have been doing PTA. I figured it out. It's 20 years at this point. I know I started when I was like 2, and I've been doing PTA ever since. I started as a teacher straight out of college. I joined the PTA right away and was quickly recruited to be the yearbook chair. And then ever since then, I've been involved at in one way or another. So we are so glad that you are here tonight.
Thank you. Kelly.
If I find my unmute button. Hi, I'm Kelly. I am in my 7th year of doing PTA, but I did 6 years of PTA at my elementary school and currently at Rio Norte as the treasurer, junior high. And I'm also the treasurer for Santa Clarita Valley Council PTA. That's a new position for me, so it's been a really interesting learning experience. And I'm also the hospitality chair on the 34th District Council PTA.
Thank you. Zoila.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I'm a little bit late.
That's all right.
My name is Zoila, and Zoila Pineda, and I am 34th District Auditor. I've been in PTA for 9 years or so, and I've served as reflections. Oh my God, a lot of positions actually, except pretty much every position except secretary. Don't ask me why. I just never, I don't know, never really went for that one. But yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Lorena.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lorena Guzman. I've been, I'm South Antelope Valley Council President at this time. Been in PTA for the past 14 years. I started as a volunteer and then kept my way up moving into here in council. Hope to continue as far as I can. And welcome.
Thank you. Awesome. Gary.
Good evening. I'm Gary Graves. I'm the North Antelope Valley president. I don't do much on the district board except for like annoy Heather. I think that's my my job on the district board. But those of you in my council know, yeah, I'm the president. I run all our association meetings, all that good fun stuff. I've been in PTA for about 5 years. I was suckered in as a historian. Oh, it's easy. You just, all you do is record the volunteer hours. It's easy. Next year I was president. I'm not sure how that happened. But anyway, I'm glad you're all here. Thanks for showing up, NAVC schools. I appreciate that. And yeah, welcome.
Perfect. Thank you. Rose.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rosemary Baldessaroni. I've been with PTA for 20 plus years. I've been actively on a board for probably 16 or 17 of that. And I'm currently the 34th District Treasurer.
Perfect. Thank you. I think I got everyone who's on right now. All right, perfect. So I wanted to just kind of get a feel for, where you guys are at, how things are going with you guys. Is there anyone who has not filed taxes yet who thinks they're going to need some help with that? Is Does anyone want to start by just kind of giving you can raise your hand and let us know, if you file taxes, if you're looking for help in filing taxes, if you want us to go over the new forms that are coming out, because those are a little bit interesting, that we have to file this year. Now, before I do that, if you're filing on your own and you make under $50,000, then there's a new form that you fill out through the Attorney General in addition to the RF1. And if you're not knowing what any of those are, we will be glad to explain all that. If you file, though, a 990 EZ, and you usually do that through a CPA, you do not have to do that new fund tax or treasurer's report that the Attorney General asks you to prepare. So that's just a little food for thought. I see Nicole raised her hand. You want to go ahead and start, Nicole?
Yeah, so this is my first year as treasurer, and I kind of got like basic training from our previous treasurer.
Mm-hmm.
So we've always done it by hand, just to save with the cost, because we thought 300 was a little steep for us. We're smaller and we don't make as much. So Kelly had been doing it by hand, so I had planned on asking her to show me how to do it. But if you can send me whatever forms are needed, that would be great. That way I can get started on it. I have everything I need. I just have never done this before.
Okay. I have helped Kelly personally do taxes in the past, because they are done, well, one form is done by hand, but the other form is done electronically. And Kelly Zefis, last year I was council treasurer for Santa Clarita. Kelly has taken over, so Kelly is going to be your contact for that. But I am her backup as far as assisting her with that. So she's going to help you. She'll reach out to you, Nicole, and get you some of the information you need.
Awesome.
And then, we can help you get through the taxes. And Heather just put into the chat too, the Tax Filing Support Center for CAPTA. They're actually where I learned majority of how to do what I do, to be honest with you guys. I mean, some of it, I was kind of digging through stuff, but they have some amazing information that gives you step-by-step on the new forms. They have them in annotated, so they have, notes on how to fill them out, which was huge because I've never done them before either. So we're all learning this together. The RF1 has changed, so there's an annotated form there as well for that. It tells you what kind of form, what kind of tax form for federal and state you would need to file based on your income. So it's a lot of information, but we can talk more about that here too while everyone's here. That's just a really good resource to go to if you want to just check it out yourself. Okay. And Rose or anybody else, you can always feel free to jump in if I'm, talking too much and you want to add something. I'll get to you guys to share in a moment as well. Anybody else have questions on taxes or are, haven't done them yet? Go ahead, Heather.
So really quickly, Erin just jumped right in and I love that. The meetups are very informal. So this is a chance for you to ask your questions. If there's something that you need to talk to one of our officers about privately, we can put you in a breakout room together. So if you have a very specific question that you don't want to bring in front of the whole group, you can either private message me or Erin and we will hook you up with the right person and put you in a little breakout room so that you can have that conversation, because some things don't apply to everybody. They just apply to you. But this is your time. Ask your questions. We're going to share some information. The main thrust of this meetup is finances. However, we have a lot of other officers here so we can talk about other things. So if there's anything that you want to talk about, please don't feel shy. You can either put it in the chat. We're monitoring the chat the whole time, or feel free to raise your hand and share that. So we just want to say welcome, and this is your time. So we will answer whatever questions you have, whatever help you need, we're here.
Exactly. Yes, thank you for that. Does anybody have questions right this second? Okay, Rose, is there anything you want to share as far as the financial end or anything you want to?
If Rose isn't ready, Shannon unmuted, so I have a feeling Shannon might have a question. So Rose, this question might be coming to you. Shannon, did you have something you wanted to ask?
Accidental unmute.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So I'm taking over for the amazing Cassandra Estrada for treasurer this year. And I'm pretty sure she's up to date to everything, but is there anything new that I should know for this year compared to last year?
For finance in general, or taxes, or
For taxes.
okay. Rose, do you want to talk on taxes, or do you want me to? Rosemary.
Oh, she just texted that she is unable to answer at this time.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right, I'll answer that. Okay, so the only thing that's changed, so Shannon, are you familiar with any of the taxes, how the taxes work, or I mean, as far as what's to be filed?
No, but
Okay.
I know if whatever Cassandra is, knows that she'll tell me.
Okay. Okay.
So if there's
Okay.
anything else, after last year, I guess, because she's the president now.
Okay.
So I just wanted to check in and make sure
Okay.
that we're covered.
Okay, so I will just give you a really brief overview of the whole thing, and then, like Heather put in the chat, CAPTA, their information, and then you can always reach out to us or reach out, to council for additional support. But basically, you have, like everybody, we file our federal taxes. If you're under 50,000, you can file electronically, and that's something anybody on the board can do. Anybody can file on behalf of the PTA. That doesn't cost, for a tax preparer to do. Filing for the IRS is really simple. You do have to set up like a login account. So that's the only thing. You have to answer a few questions as far as it's just enter, username, password, and security questions and that sort of stuff. And then it gives you the ability to log on, and it asks you just a couple really brief questions. You fill in the information, you hit submit, it's done. It's really, really simple. Franchise Tax Board, California State, same thing. You're going to file, if you're under 50,000, you can file electronically. Both those forms, the IRS one is the 990N, and the state one is the 199N. If you're a unit that makes over 50,000, you're probably better off going with a CPA, because that's even above my level of expertise, because that's either, it's usually a fillable form, like a paper form, and I'm not a tax expert, so I wouldn't even begin to know how to do that. But those are kind of the differences. There's also like I was saying, there's the 990EZ that can be filed. And again, that would be through an accountant, because they could assist you with that. But those are the different federal and state forms, and CAPTA lays them all out for you. But then with the Attorney General, because they're the ones that oversee charities, so as a nonprofit, we file with them too. We would file an RRF1 form, and that's a registration renewal of our charitable trust. That form has changed this year. It's more complicated than years past. It used to be really simple to fill out. But state has given us an annotated form that gives us all the different areas that, what information gets plugged into where, and what would constitute as programs and what would constitute as non-cash. And so they have some helpful tools there, and council and district can support you guys as well with filing those forms.
Hi, Erin.
Yeah.
Hi, sorry to interrupt. This is Darlene.
That's okay.
Kaiser.
Hi.
Hi, I'm. Some of you may know me that I'm the treasurer for North Antelope Valley Council. And just to mention to Shannon, I've tried to reach you a couple of times by text and also in our group me, but maybe you're not receiving my text for some reason, or the group me. So I don't know if you want to maybe text me directly your phone number,
Sure.
So we can try to hook up, and then I can help you out any way that I can.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I've seen the group meet, but I haven't gotten any text
Look at
messages.
you.
Okay. You text
Heather's
me your
my
number
go-to.
and I'll double check the information that I was given.
Okay.
Yeah, on September 18th. So maybe you're just not getting, maybe you have the wrong number or something. Okay, I'll be happy to help in any way that I can.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
So
Thank you, Darlene.
here are some of the annotated forms that Erin was talking about. I
Right.
literally went to the
That's
PTA website so that you guys can see that they show you little red box by little red box, what you need to do so that you are prepared to fill. This is the new RRF1 form. So I just wanted you to be able to see that. And
Will
then
you pull up the CTTR1?
Yes.
Since we can look at that.
Yes.
So this CTTR1, I was referencing it before. It's a brand new form that we're all filling out this year. Every charity fills it out. It is the Attorney General's version of a treasurer's report. And so if you are filing electronically through the IRS and through California State Franchise Board, you are going to be filling this form out too. But again, it's annotated for you. So it gives you, where you're going to plug things in, where fundraisers are going to fall under and where, other events might fall under. And so this is going to help. This form will help you fill out that RRF1 because it's going to give you the numbers that you need to plug into the RRF1. If you file a 990EZ with an attorney, oh my goodness, with a CPA, you do not need to fill out this treasurer's report because they do a more detailed form, and that form suffices in place of this form. So it's really based on, if you have the ability to pay a CPA, but if you don't, or you don't want to, you want to save that cost because some of them are a little pricey. And if you're a smaller unit, that can be a good chunk of your budget. We did this form together on the council level as a group. I walked our council leaders in for Santa Clarita, I should say, through this process. And it really was pretty simple once you look and see the steps that they give you right here. So I know it's a little hard to see on the screen.
Erin, can you just clarify the 50,000? What isn't included in that?
Yes. So, and that can be a big thing. So let me backtrack. $50,000 of income does not include any membership that you remit up to council, district, or state. Because we're in the situation we're in, and I'm sure a majority of us here are on Totem, or you might be getting on Totem soon. Totem already does that remittance for you. So whatever you get through Totem membership, if you're on Totem, that's your portion of membership that you keep. That is included in your income. If you are remitting manually, the remittance that, and it's going to matter for last year because not a lot of us were on Totem last year. So for, because we're filing 2019, 2020 taxes, it is going to come into play. Any membership remitted up does not count as part of your income because it is a straight pass-through. Insurance does count as part of your income or your expense because that is something you have to pay. But membership you remitted up does not count as part of your income, and it does not count as part of your expense. If you were to ever look at one of our council, like annual financial reports, there's a huge difference in our bottom line ending with our membership because, we're the collector of that membership and it gets pushed up to district. There's a big difference in that bottom line ending with the membership that's remitted up and and not. I mean, we're talking, it could put us in a whole nother tax bracket, which could be for you guys as well. So just make sure that any membership you remitted up is not part of your reporting income or expense.
Erin, we do have several questions in the chat. One of them is, can we use my PTEZ to file taxes?
No, not that I know of. They don't have a tax. I've never tried it. I don't think they have a tax. You still have to go through. You can print out forms and stuff. It'll give you the annual financial report, which is what you need. You'll need those numbers to file your taxes. But to my knowledge, they don't have their own tax. You have to go through the IRS and Franchise Tax Board to file.
Zoila is shaking her head, so I think she concurs.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's, yeah.
Either that or something really good is happening on TV. I'm not sure. Okay, well, maybe that too. So here we have another question about the treasurer's report. Okay. Going from executive board to executive board meeting and then association to association meeting. Okay. They're asking for some clarification because their unit asked some questions about that. Okay. So can you talk a little bit about that? Or Zoila, I know that Rose is still unavailable, but someone who handles finances.
Yeah. So yeah, your treasurer's report, if your treasurer's report is for your executive board meeting, it's going to go from your last executive board meeting to your current meeting. When I was treasurer, I would usually close my report out like a day before the next meeting. So if we had our meeting today, I would have closed out my report for today's meeting as of like yesterday or the day before. And then I would start my next report as of today's date, so that if any bills were paid in that meeting, I would include that on the next report. We do the same for association. Now, majority of us don't have association meetings every month. I know there might be a unit or two that does, but majority of us have them maybe every other month. So those reports are going to be a bigger span of time. And the reason we do that is we want our association, our members don't see our executive board reports. So we're showing them from the last meeting that we held until the current meeting, all the transactions that have transpired in our unit, all the income that's come in, all the expenses that have gone out, so that it's very transparent and our parents can see how our funds are being utilized. So our reports do go meeting to meeting. That way we can give them the most up-to-date information that we have.
It looks like Nicole is going to ask a follow-up question about this because I just saw her on mute. So Nicole, do you have a follow-up question?
Yeah. So I think the way that previous members were told the incorrect way to do the treasurer's report, because the way that I was told from her was that any income we have coming in only goes on the specific treasurer's report that I am doing. So meaning my numbers are not matching up, and this caused a huge issue during my first association meeting as treasurer, because our audit was put on display for everyone to, see everything, but it didn't match the numbers I had on my treasurer's report, because obviously incomes weren't being placed into association meeting. So the way that I was told how to do it was, when I'm doing my treasurer's report, I only look at the income from the last one that was entered, but it can't match the association meeting. So I'm glad I got clarification, because obviously this has been done incorrectly.
That doesn't sound correct at all. So Nicole, your reports, some of your reports they won't look identical, but they're going to have the same information. A lot of what you report on your executive board meeting reports, your treasurer's reports, are going to be, that exact information is going to be on your association report. Again, because the association is not there in your e-board meetings. They're not seeing that month-to-month transaction. So you need to show it to them. That sounds bad the way I said that, but you're showing them what has transpired since the last association meeting up until this one. So yes, you need to show everything that transpired within those dates, income and expenses. And that's the transparency of it. They will overlap as far as, e-board to association. They may not match up totally in ending balances because your dates are different, but they should always be matching up with whatever software program you're using. If you're using PTEZ, if you're using QuickBooks, you should always be balancing with those programs.
Well, and Nicole, the executive board, they're going to see things multiple times. They're
Yes.
going to see things in the monthly treasurer's report at the executive board,
Yes.
and then they're going to see them again at the association. But that's part of the checks and balances
Mhm.
where we're all looking for things that maybe there's something that, you know, all of a sudden a check has disappeared that was there before. That's something that we need to ask, wait, what happened to check 1, 2, 3, 4? It was on the executive board and now it's not on the association. That's part of those financial checks and balances that we have.
Yeah.
And we just want to, as Erin said, be as transparent as possible with our association and show them, hey, from our last meeting to this meeting, these are all the great monies that we brought in from fundraising and from yearbook sales and spiritware. And this is all the money we put back into our school and back into our community. They need to see all of that so that they can get the
Yeah.
full picture of what your unit is doing at your site.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It didn't make sense when she was explaining it to me, and I kept questioning her. I was literally questioning her for like an hour. I was like, "This does not make sense. Why?
Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified it for me. So moving forward, I will have to go back."
Yeah.
Well,
You
and Kelly can help you, because I know you're in Santa Clarita. Kelly can help you get your next report to a place that's good. And if you want someone from either council or a district, since, you know, a lot of us are in both lanes. I know Rose serves on council and district, and Zoila serves on council and district. If you want someone from council or district to be there to help explain it to either your executive board or your association, we are happy to do that. So just reach out to your council. If they're unavailable, council will reach up to us at district, and we will get someone there to help explain that.
Right. Yes.
you.
Perfect. Yes. All right. Any other questions? Heather, was there something else?
No, those were all the questions that are in the chat so far. That doesn't
Okay.
mean that there won't be more.
Okay.
Here, wait, someone else. My unit hasn't been able to log into my PTEZ. It asked to pay for it. I thought it was free to do financial report and state taxes.
Okay. It is, my PTZ is free as far as document uploading and uploading your board contacts. To use it for financial, though, it is a fee, and I think the fee is $99 for the year, I believe.
I think it depends on.
Does it
it
depend?
depends on your.
Okay, so yeah, there is a fee though to use it for financial. Yeah. So. Any other questions insofar as treasurer's reports, meetings, audits, anything?
I also want to quickly announce, while I'm trying to find out the My PTEZ cost, which my computer's going very slow trying to give me that information, that the 2020 bylaw template is now online. So if you guys were thinking about updating your bylaws so that you can include teleconferencing, this kind of meeting, this Zoom, Google Hangout kind of meeting as a possibility for your unit, now is the time to update your bylaws. The good thing is the state parliamentarian, she knows that a lot of us have been waiting for this update to happen, and so she's committed to getting bylaws back into our hands as quickly as possible. So if you are one of those units who have found that this medium works for you, maybe you're getting more parent participation, maybe you're finally getting teachers to participate, or whatever it is, you can get, you know, your whole board together this way where you couldn't before. This is the moment to think about updating your bylaws. Please reach out to your council parliamentarian. If you don't have a council parliamentarian, you can please reach out to your council president, and they will hook you up to me so that we can get those up to the state and back for you so that you have those options. And I am not having any luck getting into my PTEZ, so I will try that again later.
While you're on the subject of bylaws, Heather, would you talk a little bit more for any of our units that might not have updated in the last couple years, why that would be important to do so now, the changes?
Yeah, So within the past, I would say 2 years, bylaws have shifted tremendously. Now the format for bylaws, first of all, it used to be like a almost 30-page document. Now I think it's about a 17-page document. So they shrunk it down. It's now slimmer and better. There are really great changes that were made. They took a lot of the bulk of what was in there, like position roles and things, and they moved that out to the toolkit. And they made the standing rules more robust. Now, the great thing about standing rules is that you, as a unit, have more options in altering those. They don't have to go all the way up through council, district, state, and then come back state, district, council to your unit. You can amend them within your own unit with 30 days notice. The things that they moved to standing rules are things like check signers. We all know last March when things shut down, it was very hard to get together to sign checks. So some schools, because they had updated their bylaws and their check signers were in the standing rules, they were able to say at an association meeting, this is really hard. We need to add a 4th check signer, or we need to change the check signers. It can't be, it can't be our vice president for programs anymore. It needs to be our vice president for membership. They were able to do that without sending their bylaws all the way up and back down. Yeah. And this, like I just said, this most recent update, which just went live within the past 2 days, has that option for you to hold meetings, either executive board or association, via teleconference. So what we're doing now has been approved through California State PTA through the end of this year. I don't think it's the end of the PTA year yet. I know it's at least through the end of this calendar year, so at least through December 31st. If you update your bylaws to this most recent 2020 template, then you will be able to continue to hold meetings via Zoom or Google Meet or Hangout or whatever video conferencing you're using forever. You could have this as an option. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't recommend that eventually when we can go back safely that we won't have in-person meetings. In-person meetings are still really important. However, we have found some units really like this meeting. They're getting more participation. They're getting parents who worked and they have never seen them before. All of a sudden, they're showing up to meetings. So, if this is something that would be of value and of use to your unit, please consider doing it. Now, another thing I need to tell you, you actually don't have to update your bylaws for 5 years now. We always suggest that you look at them every single year. But if you were to redo your bylaws this year, your unit would get 5 years before they have to send them through council, district, state, district, council again. Mm-hmm. So it's something definitely worth considering. If you haven't done bylaw changes within the past 2 or 3 years, it's definitely worth looking at. And thank you so much. My PTEZ, all the information is in the chat. If your PTA makes between $0 and $25,000, it's $99. If you make between $25 and $50, it's $139. All the information is in the chat. Thank you so much for finding that. I really appreciate it. My computer is still not cooperating on my PTEZ. So awesome.
All right. Thank you for that.
It looks like Zoila has her hand in the air.
Yeah, Zoila, go ahead.
I have a question, Heather.
Yes, ma'am.
Given that the bylaws are available to be online, the units still have to wait for a state to approve them, right? Before any changes, before a unit can proceed with the changes that they made. What is the turnaround? Is that still the same or?
No, that's the exciting thing about what's happening right now. I hope this will continue after pandemic, but right now the pandemic does have a couple advantages. This is one of them. So as always, when you update your bylaws, the process is you log into California State PTA's website. They have an e-bylaws section. You go in there, you log in, and you make your changes. What used to happen was you would print 3 copies, you would send them to council, council would look at them, they'd send 2 copies to district, district would look at them, send 1 copy to state. The state parliamentarian would have all of the bylaws in a big pile sent to her or his home. They would look at them and then they would mail them back to the district parliamentarian. The district parliamentarian would mail them back to the council parliamentarian. The council parliamentarian would mail them back to the unit. That's a lot of stuff. What's happening now that's so amazing is same thing. You go into California State PTA website, log into e-bylaws, make your changes, download the PDF, add any extra documents. So sometimes for standing rules, we want to add additional pages. Add those into the PDF, add an electronic cover sheet, which your council parliamentarian can give to you or I can, and then you send that PDF pile to your council parliamentarian.
Woo!
Your council parliamentarian reviews it real quick, emails it to me as the district parliamentarian. I review it really quick. I email it straight to state, who sends it over to the state parliamentarian. She is able to review them. She has been getting them back to me sometimes within a matter of days. But she's saying about 2 weeks. The process used to take between 4 and 8 weeks. Now it's taking about 2 weeks. So basically what happens is after you send your bylaws on to council, wait a couple days, then give your unit 30 days notice that you're going to be bringing them bylaw changes. We can usually get them back to you before those 30 days are up. So this is an exciting moment in bylaw history because we don't have to wait for the U.S. Postal Service. We can review them much easier on our computer, really quick scan, scan, scan. Does everything look okay? Because honestly, a lot of the errors that were made before was copying errors. Like they would put an extra page in or they would forget to do this extra signature pages and I would have to go back and do it. So yeah. So this is a good moment. And I heard you cheering, Zoila. I'm certain you were cheering for the bylaws and not for whatever's on TV. I'm just going to count that as for me. There is a question in the chat. What are the recommended tools for generating reports? Nicole, I'm assuming you're talking about treasurer's reports. But if I got that wrong, unmute and let me know.
Yes.
Okay. So, Erin, do you want to talk about some tools for generating reports?
Yeah. So if you use my PTEZ, they actually will do a treasurer's report for you. Very simple, very easy. You just plug in your dates that you need it, and it generates it for you. If you're using some other software program, QuickBooks, Quicken, they also have different types of reports that could suffice as treasurer's reports. I think one is more like a profit and loss, but there's different reports that some people use. I've seen where they generate directly from the software. And then there's my favorite method if you're not using my PTZ, and that is old school Excel, where I am creating the report very similar to how California State sample is on CAPTA. My reports always look very similar to how they give a sample of the report. And it is just, your beginning balance, your total income not belonging to your unit, which is that membership that gets remitted up, your total expenses not belonging. So it's all in what your preference is. We can always send you a sample. People do them all sorts of different ways. It just depends on your preference and what kind of software program you're using. Zoila, you had one other question I saw.
There's the sample in the chat though for the sample treasurer's report on California State PTA. Zoila, once the bylaws are approved by the state, will the bylaws come back to the unit through the council, president, or by mail? Excellent question, Zoila. Sorry I didn't make that clear. So what we do is the state parliamentarian emails them to me signed and says they're good to go. I email them immediately to the council parliamentarian, or if there is no council parliamentarian, the council president, and I say, King and Springs bylaws are ready to go. Please get them back to them. And then they email them back to the unit. So it all is electronic. There is no mailing that is happening right now. It is all contactless. It is all electronic. It is all much quicker. So if you ever thought about updating your bylaws, now is the time, because it will be the easiest experience you will possibly have. No standing at the copy machine, no having to go to your mailbox, nothing. You can do the whole process in your bathroom. It's awesome.
All All right. Courtney has her hand raised. Courtney, do you have a question?
I do. So now that we are exclusively on Totem, do I understand correctly that I shouldn't have any money in the section that says funds not belonging to the unit?
Correct. Unless you are, unless you get some manual memberships in, check and cash in for some reason, those would go under not belonging because you would be physically remitting those memberships up. But yes, with Totem, Totem only gives us the portion that we keep. It does the remitting automatically for us. So that income from Totem, we count just as our membership income.
Also,
so
a Founders Day offering would go in there, wouldn't it? Because that
Yes,
isn't
it
technically
would.
your income.
That's right. If you are a unit that collects Founders Day donations or income, that is money that does not belong to your unit because it gets remitted up to the next level. So yeah, but those would be the only two things. But yeah, with Totem, they've made our job so much easier in that regard.
But if
Okay,
you also, if you have a parent who pays by check or cash,
Yeah.
you will still have, if that is an option at your unit, which for some units it still is, even with
Yes.
the Totem option, you may have a membership or two hanging out in there.
Yep. Yeah. Did you have another question, Courtney?
No, that's it.
Okay. Nicole, did you have a question? Your hand's
Yeah.
raised.
In regards to possibly, accepting monies, or checks by hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the membership chair is accepting that, I mean, isn't it not allowed because there has to be more than one PTA member in order to receive the money? So I don't understand how that would work.
Yeah, this is where it's kind of a hard situation right now. Depending on your school district and your school, some schools are allowing, for you guys at set times to come in, check PTA stuff. That would be a time where you could meet someone else and do that sort of stuff. It could also be mailed to someone as long as it's in the sealed envelope. You could meet up with someone at outside of Starbucks or someplace where there's, something where you could just meet with somebody and count really quick. That's totally a possibility. We just have to get creative. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend counting money by yourself at home. But there are some ways around it. It's just, again, we have to just kind of get creative. But at the same time, we don't want to discourage people from not joining or something because, they're not, they're only willing to pay in cash or check.
And Nicole, this came up in Santa Clarita at our membership meetup. And so this might be what you're talking about. Someone was saying that they kept the membership envelopes like on them at all times. And if they saw a family in the grocery store, they said, "Have you joined our PTA yet?" And they looked him in the eye and didn't give him an excuse to not join. And that's fine. What we suggested to that unit is if they do hand you cash or a check, you immediately text your treasurer, your president, and maybe one other person and say, "I was at the grocery store and just got the $6 membership from, Mrs. Smith." Take a picture of the envelope, take a picture of the cash or the check, take a picture of everything so that they know, the treasurer, the president, maybe one other officer, that you have that, and then get it into the bank and get it, counted with multiple officers as quickly as possible. So like Erin's saying, we don't want to discourage anybody. So, she said, "Well, what do I do if I have these membership envelopes in my bag and I'm, seeing members of the community at church or whatever, or at the grocery store or the bank or wherever?" That was our advice, was make sure that the second that happens, you are sending text. This is exactly what I have.
Yeah.
This is exactly, because you're right. It is an insurance no-no to have money by yourself and to count money by yourself and to hold money at your house. Like, all those things are no-nos. So you want to, as quickly as humanly possible, maybe you have a box at school where you can take them and put them in. Some people are doing like a drop box at the school that's kind of like locked in the front office, maybe where parents can turn in that membership, and it's kept under lock and key. That's the kind of things that you want to think about just to protect you and your volunteers and your PTA.
Thank
Correct.
you.
Yeah.
Okay. we have a question. Our unit just updated our bylaws a couple of months ago. Do we have to resubmit to get those new updates, or are they made automatically? That is an awesome question. You will need to update to the 2020 form if you want that teleconferencing to last past this time that California State PTA is kind of giving everybody a, I don't know if it's a waiver is the right word, but they're giving you a pass right now. If you do want that added in for future years, future association meetings and executive board meetings, you will need to update. The good news is that you wouldn't have to make changes. You would literally be submitting all of your stuff that you changed, like you said a couple months ago, just on the new form, which makes the approval process so much quicker and makes your process for completing them really fast. So if you want to reach out to either your council parliamentarian or to me, I can help walk you through that. So I'm going to put my information in the chat, and please feel free to contact me if you need me.
Yeah. Any else have a question? Okay.
It doesn't have to be about finance or bylaws.
Well, I'll give you a couple of things real quick here,
We can
especially
talk about the vice presidential debate, which none of us are watching because we're on here. Okay.
How do you
update forms in my PTEZ? We use it to keep track of our financials, and I'm on the website right now, but can't find where to go. Are you talking about uploading forms into? Okay. Yes. Okay. So yeah. I am going to show you really quickly where we have. Let me share my. You can talk while I share my screen to show them where to go.
Well, I was gonna say, go ahead and do that. If I have to take a phone call really quick. It's my son. He says it's urgent. Heather, go ahead and do that. The two things I wanted to talk about, and Kelly, if Rose isn't able to talk, maybe you could help me as a treasurer. I want to talk about reconciliations for our new treasurers, making sure they do those correctly, and bank statements, the 5-minute audit and that also. I'll be right back. Just carry on.
We got you. All right, so for those of you who don't know, we have a 34th District website, which is amazing. And here we have a bunch of really great resources for you. So lots of things to click on and get more information. And of course, my computer is taking a moment to, technology. It's great until it's not. Okay, so here's all sorts of information. My favorite tab is our training tab. So if you go here, and if my computer allows, all right, so we have a YouTube channel where all of our training is going, but right here, there is a very short video. I think it's about less than 3 minutes, where it shows you how to upload documents into my PTEZ. So we're just going to take a second and see. Oh, you know what though? I'm not going to do that because I didn't share my sound. So you will be able to though go here and watch it. It's, I'm just covering up the address. It's 34thpta.org. 34thpta.org. You will be able to get all that information here and see videos of our past trainings as well, because I know that you all are training gurus. So it is, Stephanie, it is not challenging. I just did it for the first time about 3 months ago. And if I can do it, you can totally do it. It is not as hard as I thought it was going to be. The only thing I would make sure that you know, and I'm sure that Gary will agree with me, when you are submitting, you have to really look at the years. So like if you're submitting your end of year audit, you need to make sure that that is in the 2019-2020 year submission, because otherwise it's going to put it into the 2020-2021, and we can't do the end of year audit for 2020-2021 because we're not there yet. So there is a drop down tab to change the years. That's the only thing that's slightly complicated about the upload, is make sure you are submitting it for the correct PTA year. So That's the one thing. Okay, I'm glad that makes sense, Stephanie. Sometimes I'm not sure if I do make sense. That's the only thing that's complicated about it. But watch the short video. It should answer all your questions. If it doesn't, Leslie Powell, she is our first vice president. You can email her and she will be happy to walk you through that. She is a pro at My PT Easy. She's really good. All right. So Kelly, do you want to talk about bank reconciliation?
I can basically, and Rose, if you can jump in when you can, because as I said earlier, this is my first year being treasurer at all. So I am learning as well, and Erin has been a great teacher for that. This just happened to me today, so I may as well share with all of you. I went to our council post office box. That is where we get our mail. That is where we get our bank statements. We have 2 accounts. So here are my 2 bank statements. I, however, will not open them. I have already spoken to our secretary. She is not a check signer. Doesn't have to be your secretary. It needs to be someone who is not a check signer, who will physically open these, make sure they haven't been touched, changed. They don't really know what they're looking at either. They're just basically looking over each and every page and signing, putting their initial on and the date. That is the first step with the bank statements. Then you can have the bank statements. Yes.
Really quickly, one thing that I also didn't realize that I found out very recently about the bank reconciliation is it needs to be indicated in your minutes who is going to be the person who is opening your bank statements.
That is new to me as well. So,
yeah.
okay.
So I know, isn't that interesting? So again, it's another insurance requirement that we're being transparent. So if it is going to be your historian or your parliamentarian or your secretary, someone who is a non-check signer, as Kelly said, it's very important. Make sure that in your minutes at a meeting, you say, Secretary Jen Rubidoux is going to be opening our bank statements and doing our mini audits. So just make sure that that is articulated in your minutes.
Now, I have a question.
Yes.
Does that mean that that person will always be the one opening the statements? What if that person, let's say Mary Lou, is opening the statement for August and September, but she's not available for November and December? Then what?
So I would have your minutes reflect that, you know, for the months of August and September, it's going to be Jen, and for November and December, it's going to be Mary Lou. But just make sure that, again, this is an insurance thing that I just heard not too long ago, that in one of the leadership trainings somewhere, it all rolls together, that it needs to say in your association minutes who's going to be opening that.
Right.
So just protect yourself.
And the other thing I was going to say is, I know it's a crazy time. Some of you are having your bank statements mailed to your school. Some of you are printing them off online. It's a little gray. Technically, they should be mailed not to someone's home, technically. In normal non-COVID situations, have them mailed to your school, get them that way. But in this circumstance, we have some people, probably the safest thing to do would be mail them to a non-check signer, mail them to your secretary, mail them, you know, somewhere else. But you do need to have physical copies mailed. This is something else we learned for insurance purposes. Some schools felt it was okay just to have their treasurer print them off of directly from the bank, but print them and hand them to somebody to sign. You should be getting official bank statements. These will be filed once you do your reconciliations, and they will be looked at for your audit. So it's just another step that we do to protect you, especially as treasurer or any of your check signers.
Yeah.
Kelly, we do have a question. Does it have to be a board member that opens the statements?
Erin, I'm going to leave that to you, but I've always heard it to be executive board member, somebody on your board. But
it should be a board member, because it should be somebody who's been in attendance, you know, through majority of your meetings, who understands the financials and the business of the PTA. Yeah. So if you're just having a member open them and they're not in your usual board, they're not going to know what you know, the normal business is. So they're not going to know as much what they're looking at. Whereas an executive board officer or even a chairperson, a standing chair who's been at all your meetings, at least knows, okay, we approve these bigger things, so those things we know that are good. So yeah, so it should be a board member of some sort. Yeah.
At least it has to be a PTA member.
So
make sure it's
Minimum.
at least a PTA member.
Yeah.
We do have another question on the floor. What is a reconciliation?
Okay.
You want to do that?
Well, I know what a reconciliation is. We're using QuickBooks. So that's how I know that there is actually a tab in QuickBooks that you can go to and hit reconciliation, and it will have you go through the steps of how to do it. And you're basically matching up what is in your ledger with what is in your bank statement, and you're checking off what has been deposited, what has been received. And I believe, Erin, there's also that same feature in PTA EZ. Is that correct?
There is. So basically what your reconciliation does, it checks that you're balancing with your bank. That's the main key of it. In the old days, when we didn't have computers and all this fancy software, on the back of your bank statements, they had a little it
was a grid. Yeah.
It was a grid. Yeah.
It was.
And it gave you step by step of plug in your beginning balance, enter any of the checks that haven't cleared, enter any of this information, and then do your math. And, if your ending balance matches your checkbook, you're balanced. That's the same philosophy with this. My PTEZ, QuickBooks, Quicken, they all do reconciliations for you. It's as simple as plugging in the ending balance of your bank statement, the ending date of your bank statement, and then going down the list and clicking everything that's cleared. That's going to ensure you that whatever program you're using, that you're balanced within your program. And you do it monthly. So every time a bank statement comes out, you reconcile, and then there's a report that gets printed out if you're using one of the software programs that will it gives you a report that you attach to your bank statement. For the reconciliation, if you're sometimes it takes a while for those bank statements to come in the mail, or if they're going to the school and you can't get right in there to get them, you can, if you have online access to your bank, you can print a statement just to do the reconciliation, but that statement is not going to stand as your actual statement. And I would do that a lot of times before I would meet up with our council or district board when I was treasurer. I would print that statement out from the bank, do my reconciliation. I would print the reconciliation report. And then when I had them open the bank statements, whoever, our non-check center was opening that bank statement, I immediately had the reconciliation for them to look at as well. It was already done. So it was one less step where I had to come back later and, have them sign that reconciliation because
that's a great point.
I didn't have the bank statement at the time. So that is doable. You just make sure you attach your reconciliation to the mailed version of your bank statement.
So really quickly, we're about to hit 8 o'clock, and I know we told you that we would end this at 8. We still do have a couple questions, and I don't know about Erin, but I'm willing to hang out for a little while longer. Yeah. But we know that some of you are on a tight timeline and you've been Zooming all day, so please feel free to go if you need to. This recording from this video will be posted on our website, so please check that out there, 34thpta.org. I also wanted to just make it really clear, the mini audit from the bank statement is different from the reconciliation. We kind of talked about them at the same time, but insurance requires both of those things to happen, to be signed and dated by a non-check signer. So please don't get the two confused. When you get that envelope in the mail, someone, not a check signer, needs to open that and review that and do what we call a mini audit, which is basically where they look at it and make sure there aren't like $1 million check written to Heather Ippolito, because that could happen. Check for any oddities like that. And also, when your treasurer does the bank reconciliation, which is that comparison of what was on the bank statement to what is actually in the ledger, that also needs to be signed by a non-check signer. So please make sure that you understand this is an insurance requirement that if you do not meet it and there is some sort of financial challenge that goes to insurance, that is the first question they are going to ask you. We want to see all of your bank reconciliations and your bank statements signed and dated by non-check signers before they will even process your claim. That's what they're going to ask for. So please make sure that you're doing that. We have two questions on the floor, and then Erin, go ahead, and then I will get to the questions.
Yeah, they'll also ask for your minutes. So that's the other thing that insurance will always ask for is your minutes. So go ahead, Heather.
All right, so there was a question about, can we print them out from the bank, have the non-check signer open and sign them, and then once we're able to get paper statements in the mail, can we staple them together and keep both with our book?
As long as those paper statements are signed again, I mean, they need those mailed statements still need to be reviewed. So if you had someone review, the printout, that's all well and fine, but you need the actual mailed copy to be checked. So if you're picking them up all at once, and as long as it's before the audit closed, and you want to have, your non-check signer look them all over again, they could even compare it with what they signed before. That's okay to do, but you want those sealed ones to be signed, definitely.
Zoila has a question or a comment.
Sorry, but as an auditor, and according to the rules of the audit, the statement, we cannot accept, the auditor will not accept copies or
which
you do. I don't see why you will need a print to print in the statement from the bank when you will be getting your statement either way. But if you, for whatever reason, if you do need to print a statement for you to check the balance or a check, I will think that's okay. However, when you give your book to audit to the auditor, it has to be the original bank statement.
That's what we were saying.
That's
to staple together.
That's what I was saying.
Checked well. Yeah.
Zoila, if they wanted to print the statement so they could do the reconciliation before, the non-check signer signed the sealed statement, they can do that. I used to do that all the time. But for audit purposes, they have to sign the sealed copy of the bank statement. They have to sign the original. So it doesn't matter whether they signed the printed copy. What matters for audit and for insurance is that sealed statement is signed. So you're right. And I'm saying the same thing, just it's probably not coming out exactly the same way.
Yep. You are.
Zoila, they agree with you. No to a printed copy, yes to the original bank statement. That's what I've heard.
I was like, wait, so when did those rules change? Okay.
No, nothing changed. It's just when I would have to wait for a bank statement to come either to the PO box or to the school, it took time because, the bank had to process the statement, send it to, and then we had to wait for the district mail. So what I would do is I would print, as soon as that statement closed, I would print it so I could reconcile my account. And then when the original statement came in, I would attach my reconciliation to the original statement. So that's all I'm saying is they can print for that, but there's no point in signing the printed copy because it won't suffice for the audit.
Yeah, that's why I was like, wait, it doesn't matter whether you sign the printed copy because
that doesn't matter
either way.
Correct. Yes.
All right. There's another question. Do you recommend that the envelope that the sealed bank statement came in be attached as well?
No.
And I think you can tell that it came from the bank because there's like an address on it and a return address, whereas the printed one doesn't have that on it usually. So.
And there will be creases where it was folded and
the original always has there's a mark that the bank always has anyway. So that's what I look for. Yeah. When if you print something, there's the mark that the printer leaves. So
yeah, there hasn't been anything where they said to keep the envelopes. The hope is that whoever's opening them and signing them right then and there, that's the proof that they opened them and they came in a sealed envelope. So
Hey Heather, I think there was a question further back about and
I'm going
Erin,
back.
maybe you can address this. Go for it.
So what is the cost of QuickBooks versus my PTEZ?
That's a very good question. So QuickBooks is pricey. I'm going to tell you that right now. For a nonprofit, it's expensive. However, There is a company called TechSoup, TECH. I know Heather will put it in the chat. Soup, like you drink. TechSoup.org, I believe it is. But Heather will pull it up.
Right.
You have to do a little pre-step in applying. You have to show, your tax ID number to them. You have to register with them. But once they prove that you are a nonprofit, their QuickBooks, which is pretty comparable to the ones that we subscribe to for nonprofit, and it is an online version, which is what I recommend you guys get and not a desktop, because the online is much easier to hand off to the next person because it's just a login. Their fee right now for their QuickBooks is $75 for nonprofits. So
Which is cheap. That's so cheap.
So it's cheaper than even my PTEZ.
Yeah.
There are some great tools about my PTEZ that I love, but there's some great things about QuickBooks that I love. So, it just depends on your preference. But yeah, through TechSoup, if you get qualified, and you just need to prove them, some nonprofit information. Right now, it's $75 to do QuickBooks.
And saying here it's starting at $20, so I don't know what that is.
It depends on the version you need. I just bought it for our band boosters, and it was $75, which is what they charged us last year. It's for the nonprofit version for online, and it's like a pro version or something like that. But anyways, it's a lot more affordable through them. So if you're thinking of doing that, I would recommend it. And that's an annual fee. So they would contact you right before, to resubscribe, and then you just renew it and continue on. So,
and just, that is an operating expense, so make sure that it's in your budget. That is something that is appropriate. You need some sort of accounting software. You can use Excel, if you have that on your computer, or Google Sheets, which is free. But there are some neat things that my PTZ and QuickBooks and Quicken and all those things do that a simple spreadsheet won't. So your association, if they have the funds, they absolutely could use them on that.
Yes.
And they also, in TechSoup, also have a Zoom discount. So if you're thinking about buying Zoom,
they have all sorts of things for nonprofits.
I was trying to scroll and show you. We do have another question. So when the bank statements are getting opened, does that person have to sign every page of the bank statement? Their person who does it only usually signs the first page.
I haven't seen where it says every page. I know some people, and if you're comfortable with this, like some people will sign the front page and then just initial the bottom corner of every one. It's not a bad practice to be in, but as long as a page is signed and dated and it's stapled together, that'll suffice. We just need to see that someone looked it over. State hasn't said that every page has to be signed, to my knowledge.
I kind of overheard something when AIM took over our insurance that they did want it every page signed.
Do they? Okay.
Yes,
I think I've heard that too, Zoila. So I would concur with that too. And it's 2 extra signatures,
Yeah.
I remember it was when the new company took over. Before then, they wanted every page signed as to protect it. But
and that makes sense. That makes sense. So to be on the safe side, I would say just have them sign or initial and date, something where it shows that they they looked it over. I'll double check on that too, but it doesn't hurt just to make sure. And it's true. If you have every page initialed or signed, that they looked at every page and something wasn't added later, or, that sort of business.
Yeah, because I remember I called about that too, but it was like when they first took over. I don't know if they have changed. So no, who knows?
Probably not. It's probably and it's not a bad practice to get into. So
I agree.
Well, and while this sounds like, oh my gosh, here's one more thing that we have to do, and oh my gosh, here's another thing. Remember that, first of all, like the IRS requirements and things like that, that's not a PTA requirement. That is, you are a nonprofit, you are going to have to do this. Whether you're a booster club or a PTO or whatever you are, you're going to have to file taxes, you're going to have to submit the RF1, you're going to have to do all those things. So that's not necessarily PTA being the big bad, wolf here. But like signing the bank statements and signing the reconciliations, those are insurance requirements. And the great thing about PTA is we have this amazing amazing insurance where for only, under $300, your unit is covered for just about everything you do in a year. Your activities, your fundraisers, all of your volunteers. I mean, think about that. Your treasurer and your board are dealing with lots of money. Don't you want that coverage and that protection from insurance? So while it might be like, oh my gosh, office lady or, historian or secretary, I need you to sign all 4 sheets of the bank statement. It might seem like a temporary inconvenience, but that protection that it's going to give your unit and your volunteers who are doing this work out of the goodness of their heart, you guys don't get anything but hugs. And right now we can't even give you hugs for all the work you're doing. So just remember that this is to protect you as a volunteer who's giving up your time, to protect your PTA who is trying to do great stuff for the kids at your school. This is not designed to be punitive. This is protection. So try and frame it that way, and hopefully signing a couple extra pages won't seem so bad.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I have a question.
Yes, Carol.
Okay, it's Esperanza.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong.
I think Carol was going to talk about it.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what is the process? I got a little confused. What is the process of someone else opening the bank statements and then, or having them mailed to them, or how do, for example, if I go pick up the bank statements, then I have to mail it to someone else? Can I hand it to them physically? And then where do the reconciliation statements come in? I'm a little confused, like what the process is, like step 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, so you can definitely pick them up and take them to someone. That is fine. When we were talking about having them mailed, is that some of our units aren't able to step onto campus at all, and the bank statements usually were mailed to the campus. So in this time of COVID and sort, we are allowing units to have the bank statements mailed to a non-check signer's house. So if you know that the secretary or the auditor is always going to be the one to open those bank statements, you could have them mailed directly to them. And then they open them and check them. Reconciliation reports are going to be the same way. As a treasurer, you're going to prepare the reconciliation reports and print them, and then you're going to have that non-check signer sign them. So if you wanted to have that all ready to go and take it to the non-check signer, that's totally doable. You just yourself do not open those statements. So it just depends on how accessible they are for you, if they are going to your school. But you can definitely hand deliver them. Yeah.
Okay. So if I'm not the one, yeah. So,
okay.
So for example, it can be the non-check signer who directly picks up the statements.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And then signs also the reconciliation report and the bank statement.
Yes.
Okay. And then I keep those too. I file those with my files.
Yes, as a treasurer, you file them with your files once they've been signed. Yeah, because they will go for audit.
I do want to clarify one thing. As Esperanza was talking, it just struck me that we didn't say this out loud. You need to not only have that person who signs those not be a check signer, but they also cannot be related to you by blood or marriage or live in your same house. So for example, my husband could not open them up and sign them. That wouldn't work. We live in the same house. We're married. We're related. We violate all those things. So please just make sure, again, that just like, check signers can't be related by blood or marriage, reside in the same house. Make sure that your mini audits and your bank reconciliation signer also checks all those boxes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Good point.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I think that cleared everything up. Thank you.
Sure.
And then I think Carol had a question.
Hi. A quick question. Okay, like I know that you guys said that we have to for the minutes we have to put there that we have to put like who's gonna be opening the checks.
Mm-hmm.
Do we also have to put in there that who's gonna also be signing the that word?
Reconciliation. It's a hard word to say.
I know.
We also have to put down the minutes. Who will be signing that also?
I would just to,
I would.
just to simplify the process, especially if it's going to be the same person.
Yeah.
I would just say our secretary is going to be responsible for opening bank statements and signing the reconciliation. Again, like Aaron said, the insurance is going to ask for your minutes, so just make sure it's in there. If it's going to change, you know, if at some point your secretary isn't available anymore and now it needs to change to your historian or your parliamentarian or whatever, just say from this point forward, bank statements and reconciliations will be due. But again, you want to just make sure you're protected under that insurance blanket. So
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Good question.
You know, since we have treasurers on tonight, Heather, since we've experienced this, it probably wouldn't hurt to mention that we found a stack of checks from last spring in our box at our school because Heather had the foresight to ask someone to check our PTA box at school. So not a bad idea. Go ahead.
So when
Heather.
everything shut down last year, what we didn't realize as the incoming board was the outgoing board didn't go back to school to check the mailbox. So we had tons of bank statements in there. We had like all sorts of things that I was like, how are they even doing business? So if you haven't been to your school campus for a while, call the secretary. They're usually on campus, or email your principal and just say, can we just send someone to grab the things out of our box, or, you know, however it is you do that, because we found some restaurant night checks. We found some e-script checks that had been sent that were just eking close to that 6-month deadline. So, yeah. So just check your box if you haven't already.
Yeah.
Another question.
Yeah.
So as an incoming treasurer, when do I start the reconciliation statement? Is it for last month, in July, August, or where do I begin?
You would start with July, your July bank statement. Yeah, because our fiscal year begins July, and that's when your term began. You would start with your July statement, and you would go all the way through. You're going to go all the way through the year until June. June will be the last one you do before you close the books out for the year.
Okay. Thank you.
And the thing is, Esperanza, you don't have to like go back and do last year's. Like some people were asking that, I didn't know about this last year. Do start with July and then make sure you're keeping it current moving forward. So, you know, if you don't already have this in your minutes, don't panic. Like, don't go back and like falsify your minutes. That's not what we're asking you to do. Do it from now. You now know what the rules are. So make sure at your next association meeting, you are putting that into your minutes. Who's going to be the signer for these things? Make sure that you have gone back and done your reconciliations from July on. If you've already been opening check statements and you haven't had somebody do the mini audit, make sure that starting with the October bank statement that you are starting to do those things. So, you know, now you have no, you know, there's no excuse now because you were all here and we have your names down. No, I'm just kidding. Is there a deadline for the reconciliation signer? Courtney, I don't know if I understand what that means. So I think each year you might decide who it might be different every year. Is that?
No, I'm sorry. Like if I do the reconciliation, when do they need to review and sign that document?
Yeah, as soon as you can. I mean, it doesn't have to be immediate, but sooner is better. Definitely before you send your books to audit, you want all those signatures. So, but sometimes, you know, in the situation we are in, we can't just get to somebody right away. So it can wait a little bit. If you have by happenstance, 1 or 2 pile up, that's not a huge deal. I wouldn't let it go, 4 or 5 months of piling up. Just so you have people have eyes on your stuff, but it doesn't have to be immediate. So.
Okay. But it can't be the auditor, but it needs to be at a time before the audit.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, because if it's not and they go to audit, you will get dinged on that. Yeah, they'll be looking for that. And you want to have it as up to date as you can, just in case something was to happen and you had to go and file an insurance claim. well, now you've got, 4 months of stuff sitting there that was never signed. So, there is a reason why we want to try and get it as close to after that bank statement closes, but, we're all busy too, and we're, in a distance with each other. So it can be, it can wait a couple weeks if you need to, but I wouldn't wait super long just in case. You just never know. Not that I wish that on anyone, but just better be safe than sorry.
This is Darlene. I have a question.
Yep.
Is there any concerns about using electronic signatures, like for instance, on the request for reimbursements? What I've been doing as the president is that I'll receive the request for reimbursements electronically most times because of the situation that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will electronically sign it that it is an approved, what am I thinking?
Expense. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's an approved activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'm going to do is to send it to the treasurer, who's going to review it for the meeting. So she'll have all the information. Either physically give it to her if we meet in person,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm also sending it to her electronically, so she'll have it. So is
Yeah.
that acceptable to do that?
For the payment authorizations, I think it is.
Yeah,
As long as you and your secretary are signing it. For the bank
And then the
statement,
secretary would sign after the meeting that it's been approved, in the minutes.
yeah. For those, I think it's okay. I wouldn't do that, obviously, for the reconciliations and the bank statements, obviously. But for your payment authorizations, yeah, I've done the same.
Okay, so the other one, what I was thinking was for the bank reconciliations. See, when I do the report off of my PTEZ, then it's easy for me to just put in my it's my hand signature, but I electronically put it into my system where I can, copy it onto there.
The only thing with that, Darlene, is that whoever is looking at that reconciliation should also be looking at the bank statement. Which is why a lot of times I would prepare it and then hand it to my signer with the original bank statement, so they could look at both.
Okay.
But that should be a wet signature.
Yeah, as long as they're seeing both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, but so it's better if I just print it out and hand sign it.
I think so. Yeah, definitely.
And then they would, when they look at it with the bank statement.
Yep.
Like our auditor is who we've talked about doing, being the non-check signer.
Yeah, that's
she
fine.
would see the bank statement, sign it off, and then she would get the reconciliation, and then she would sign it off after I do it. So, okay.
Correct.
All right, thanks.
Yes. Sure. Yeah.
Well, wow, you guys had really good questions tonight. We are approaching 8:30, and again, we know that you guys have way more interesting things to do than hang out with us. So
we appreciate it.
We do. We're so excited that you're here. But first of all, don't feel badly if you need to hop off. We're going to give it a couple more minutes. If you have any questions about anything, we will hang out until 8:30. So if you need us, now's your time.
Yeah.
And if not, thank you for coming and have a really good night.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.